Excellent. Well, John, I'm very excited to speak with you today. I know that your firm out in San Diego, you've been up to quite a bit the last few months, and everything from, I know you guys have been doing a lot for the community, for your team. But when COVID first hit, and this was, let's say late February, early March, a lot of people were pulling back, but you guys were quite literally doing the exact opposite right from the beginning. I guess talk me through that.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, as with a lot of firms, it got real fast. And so it was essentially a Friday. We had trial set, we had travel set, everyone was here. And then on Monday, basically, we had to have everyone remote. We knew all our trials were going to be kicked. We knew the courts were closed. And so I took that weekend with my team to pause and reflect. And I think, oftentimes we undervalue that notion of pausing and reflecting. And there's a quote by Albert Einstein that I really like. He says, if I had only 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and only 5 minutes finding the solution. And so, I took that weekend to sort of define the problem. What would the problem be? The real problem, because people catastrophize this thing. And they say, oh, gloom and doom, we have to close. There's not going to be cases. And so, we define the problem in a number of ways. We define the problem in terms of the communities that we serve and interface with. We define the problem in terms of how it affects our bottom line. We define the problem in terms of how we can keep our people motivated. And so for the teams, here, the problem obviously was they were going to be super anxious and scared. And so obviously, fear is paralyzing. I think we all know that. And so the immediate concern was to take that away. And so that Monday, of course, we met with them via Zoom and we told them, like you've preached, that we're not going to fire anyone. Here's our economics for the next 6 months, very transparent with our numbers. We have plenty of money. And one of the first things we did was we started a contest to nominate where our next retreat was going to be once this was over. So they can see on the back end, we have confidence enough, we're going to go on a retreat once this is over. And so we've kept that, spirit kind of going with them, keeping them motivated, keeping them encouraged, focusing on different tasks of improvement that they can do. So that was something immediate. Another problem we defined was our clients would have anxiety and be uncertain about things. And so we said, right away, and we really pride ourselves on customer service. I think that we're about to have, a little teaching moment with you on the client experience. And so, we really value that. We feel like it distinguishes us. And so we said, like, what are our clients going to be thinking? They're going to be uncertain and have questions. And so we immediately did a webinar series for them, to answer their questions and to be available for them. So we took care of that problem. Within the legal community, what was the problem there? And we figured we depend a lot on referral lawyers. Like lawyers will bring cases to us to try or to handle. And we figured like your kind of average car accident lawyer would come out of this pretty beat up, and even initially have a lot of anxiety and fear, just like our clients and our team members would. So we started doing weekly webinars for them. I called it COVID-19 and getting through it, and sort of reassuring them. So I brought you on and some others on to kind of encourage them. And then we gave them practical sort of speakers to help navigate all this. And we also, every day at the conclusion of our all hands Zoom meeting, we have a partners meeting, and then we do a check-in. So we'll call a referral source or a lawyer and get them on the Zoom and see how they're doing, that kind of thing. And so the idea is on the back end of this, hopefully we've established some trust and a relationship and a rapport. And then finally, in terms of the firm, what's the problem? The problem is people aren't going to be doing stupid things and getting hurt. They're not going to be driving for a while. So how do we make up for that stopgap of lack of new sort of traditional cases? And so, we spent that weekend thinking hard about what kind of cases would come out of this. And so, we came up with business interruption insurance cases and kind of the negligent transmission of COVID cases, whether those be in cruise ships, nursing homes, airlines, retail, so be it. And so almost immediately, I think like that following week, we got out a blast email, started doing social, that we're doing business interruption. We felt it wasn't quite time to do the injury cases from COVID. We waited about a week or two after that, but then we got right out in front of it. And the reason I did that was there were some Las Vegas shooting cases a few years back, if you'll recall, with this country music festival. And we were going to get in that. And some lawyers from my firm talked me into the opposite. They said that would be untoward. It's too early. It's not going to look good. And we stepped back and didn't take advantage of that opportunity. And then obviously, all kinds of lawyers did and did well, and we were left out. And so by virtue of that experience, I said, I'm not going to go through that again. I'm not going to have that hesitation or shyness about, being in front again. And so, in hindsight, I'm glad we made that decision.
So John, let me ask you, actually, it's interesting because, to unpack a lot of what you just said, it seems like from the very onset, rather than being reactive to what was happening, you took a step back, kind of looked at what are all the problems, created a plan, and then moved forward, but addressing all the different, basically the audiences you interact with, everything from the team to your clients to the community and so on. So one, if someone's listening, they're like, well, that sounds like that was easy, right? But the reality is many people have been very reactive, perhaps still are very reactive, that never really took that step back, that just were like, all right, well, let's assess what's happening here. And then we'll plan out what we're going to do tomorrow and the next week and the next month. But one thing I want to touch on, and that I have seen, and it seems like this is almost like a byproduct. You jumped into this very proactively, meaning that you were doing things. You were doing things in your team, in the community, for the clients, like right away, just like from the very onset. And very early on, I remember people were saying, well, isn't that insensitive? Like people have other things to worry about right now. Like, they're worried about coronavirus. Like they don't really want to think about lawyers and COVID cases. And I even saw those in the legal community that were giving you some criticism. Like, what was that experience like? And do you believe that does it just come with the territory?
Yeah, anytime you do sort of what I would call mass event marketing, especially on social media, and it's near in time at all, or even not near in time at all, but anytime you are doing that, you're going to receive criticism. And so I just call those people the haters. And the haters can be either just people that hate us, or they can be other lawyers, or they can be, I don't know who else. But I frankly don't care much. I actually did a video that I posted, a message to my haters, explaining basically, why we do what we do, and how we feel like I'm a person of faith. I feel like it's God's calling to me to help these people. And so I posted the video, I put it out on Facebook for all my haters to look at. And so I think that sensitivity to those criticisms is what caused me not to jump into the Vegas cases. And so now, I've been called everything in the book. I don't think it matters in the end, because in the end, I started doing business interruption cases before anyone in the country, I think. And now everyone in the country is doing them. And these are cases involving businesses that have filed insurance claims. I was, I think, the first guy marketing for them. And now everyone's marketing for them. So now do I look like such a bad guy, or do I look like a smart guy? Hopefully the latter. And so, I don't feel like whatever the temporary criticism is going to come from people that don't know you, and the criticism is going to pass in the end. And so, we're going to be better off financially because of it.
So I would say that, and for anyone who's watching that may not be familiar with you or your practice, I mean, you guys are pretty unanimously considered one of the top trial practices in the nation, just overall. Like there's a standard of excellence to where it almost behooves you to get in front of more people because you can help them at a higher level. I mean, it's better you than perhaps, someone else many times. But other areas where I've seen you getting criticism is when you've been very outspoken about, as COVID has persisted, everyone's been locked up, the need to perhaps get back to work. So like, I know you mentioned that, and this isn't even for your direct benefit, like you guys are fine, but it's being considerate of your clients and other businesses in the area and so on. And I'm just curious in terms of really kind of a two-part question. One, what are your thoughts on that? And how important do you think it is for leaders to stand for something right now?
Yeah, I think, I obviously, we're doing COVID injury cases, so I'm obviously sensitive to the dangers of COVID. But at the same time, I'm very, because I represent all these businesses and I'm dealing with all these employees that can't provide for their families. And I grew up, before law school, I was a social worker, basically a welfare worker. And so I've been very interested in the questions of poverty and social economic issues for a long time. I can see the other side of this too. Like if you involuntarily place millions of people out of work, then you are going to be creating enormous social repercussions that are going to last generations, especially with lower socioeconomic, families. And so, yeah, I've been vocal about that. And I think people appreciate that. I think, I could play it safe and not say anything, but then I'm not being true to myself. I don't share all of my opinions. I tend not to post anything political for sure, just because that's, I think, too polarizing. But on that issue, where someone's at home sipping on their latte, working remotely and complaining because they can't go to the gym or to a music festival and saying, stay home, like all you idiots. Maybe there's another perspective they haven't considered.
Yeah. And I would say that perspective definitely exists for sure. And it's what's fascinating to me about it is that, when we talk about taking a stand, when you take a stand, there's a chance that not everyone will like you, not everyone will agree with you, but it does seem at the same time, as you've been doing this, so talking about the positive impact, there are a lot of people that do agree with you. There's a lot of clients that agree with you, a lot of attorneys that agree with you. On that note, how important do you believe it is to stand for something, just in the sense of having principles and essentially operating by them so that, rather than trying to get everyone to agree with you, resonating strongly with those that that are true to your principles?
Well, the first guiding principle of our firm is that we always do the right thing, and so I feel like it's our province or my province to define what's right in my world or our world, and so I feel like it's important to have positions on things that matter to me. Because otherwise, and I would rather be respected, than liked per se, or agreed with. For sure, I'm not going to agree with everybody. But if people respect me and respect the place I'm coming from, and I'm considerate about the way I voice my opinions and respectful of other people, then I think that engenders some respect and admiration in the end. And I'm a leader. I want to be perceived as a leader. So, among other things, if I'm a thought leader, I'm a leader in that world as well.
And I would say, so those who are watching you right now, as we close this out, let's say they're hearing about all the things that you guys have been up to and everything you've been doing, and they're thinking perhaps maybe it's too late in the game for them to get involved. Maybe it's too late for them to start, whether it's expanding their practice areas, impacting their community. What would you say to them?
Well, I have this saying I really like, so people will talk to me because I do jiu-jitsu. I'm an old guy, I do jiu-jitsu and judo and stuff. They'll be like, oh yeah, I always wanted to try jiu-jitsu. And I go, well, there's this old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago. The second best time is now. And so it's not too late. This is still going on. And so, hearing this, if you haven't done anything yet, I've seen firms we got in super early, and firms were completely, quiet for a month and a half, 2 months. I'm seeing firms step their game up now. So there's still time and opportunity to, be a leader, to pause and reflect, and to address whatever, issues you believe that this current situation poses to you and your team.
Awesome. John, thank you. I really appreciate your insights. This is awesome, man. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.